Tensions between the Otto clan and Walker's tribe reach a fever pitch as we finally learn the truth behind their conflict. There is badassery. There is dumbassery. And after 2.5 seasons, we finally learn Maddie's deep, dark secret. It's the big double-episode mid-season finale of Fear the Walking Dead. Season 3, Episodes 7 and 8. The Unveiling and Children of Wrath. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review, the final review for at least a few more weeks, of Fear the Walking Dead. So yes, there are lots of spoilers, very chunky spoilers actually, from this point going forward. And in fact, let me just start off being kind of perfectly honest. Double episodes are always really tough to review. It's a lot of material to try and cover in a reasonable period of time. I don't want these to go too long, if at all possible. And for 2 episodes, I can be chatting for 45 minutes. And let's be honest, this isn't Talking Dead. But I am available. Chris, call me if you need someone to sub for you. Anyway, so what I'm going to try and do instead is really just hit some of the big major themes, the major reveals that we covered over, and then of course a few little odds and ends throughout that. So let's start things off with kind of our big story reveal that sort of frames everything what this whole past few episodes have been dealing with since we have run into Walker, and that is, what is the big secret behind the Walker Ranch? Yes, the Otto clan ages ago did buy the land from the local tribe, it appears. But recently, when Jake and Troy were kids, the tribe came back forward claiming that the land was sacred and was owed, and thus began a big, long legal battle. What really started that, I mean, that was kind of the foundation. But as there is conflict, the youths tend to go and butt heads, and in this case, apparently some of the kids of the tribe were stealing cattle and doing some stuff, raging a little bit on the ranch land. So one night, Jeremiah and a couple of the founding fathers head out in the herd, and when 3 of the Indian youths, of the native youths, showed up, bam, 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 shot them dead. One of which being Walker's uncle, which is strong enough reason for him to be upset. But following that, Walker's dad comes to find out what happened to his brother, and boom, 1 single shot, and that is all she wrote. So this really explains Walker's extreme animosity towards Jeremiah. We had a feeling that there was some blood feud element that was going on here. But it comes down to is that cost. You know, that was the family loss. And especially in such a dark and sort of just off the cuff, Jeremiah does not seem to put any value or weight to that action at all. I think that only makes it worse. So yes, this would explain why at this point, now with all the legal stuff done, with this in the apocalypse, with Walker's people short on water, it's been a drought, they're not getting water, you need that to live and for crops and for everything else. That's the animosity. That is why Walker wants to come in and take out Jeremiah, and that explains the reason why negotiation doesn't work. Jake's whole attempt in the beginning, while noble to try and stave off loss of life, really isn't going to go anywhere. Not without extracting a large price. Yes, there is the water that he needs, but I think Walker understands that Jeremiah is of the sort that won't negotiate, and he pretty much makes that clear throughout the rest of the episode. So, getting this clarification, we can really understand why Walker is so, again, it has such strong animosity towards Jeremiah in particular, and the ranch in general. This is personal, this is blood, and this is not something that he is just going to walk away from now. Now, that type of personal loss, of course, is something that Alicia can identify with, and I think carries it through. And she gets a few really good scenes, but I think that one in particular, when she is talking with Walker, and as she is the hostage and learning his ways, and they come across the helicopter, it was just it was beautifully done because you could see in the midst of the conversation that sudden drop and shift in her face, and then seeing that simmering, that anger building throughout all of that as Walker's just talking about, hey, getting this chopper and doing that, and she is, just reflecting, really caught in that moment, only half listening to him. She carried that beautifully, and there's a beautiful shot right there where we see the helicopter and we're looking through the doorway and you can see the bullet hole, the light going through the bullet hole, and she's right on the other side. It was so nicely shot. And I think she is perfect when she turns around and delivers that dig right back into Walker. He's like, you're just a hypocrite, playing for the noble Native American. It was a beautiful moment. And again, really showing a lot of oomph, a lot of that energy, that simmering tension that is building within her. And it was just, like I said, she had a couple of great scenes, and that was certainly one that stood out for me. But that wasn't, of course, the only anger that she felt, because right before, she got to run right back into Ophelia, who we haven't seen since the end of last season in Wrath. So that was kind of a shock. And it was interesting kind of seeing that one, understanding Alicia's anger towards Ophelia. You left us, you took the truck, you abandoned us, what the hell? And really kind of sets up some interesting tension that I think delivers well, especially when she ends up coming back to the ranch. And you see those things. There was such real tension in the line delivery between her and Jeremiah. I kept thinking back to that last scene of like, was he the one? I honestly couldn't remember. I literally stopped the show, went back, found the old episode, and pulled it up so I could watch that last scene. And yes, it is Jeremiah Otto. But it was funny because I pulled the scene, and then of course when they start the next episode, they actually re-showed that bitch, which I did appreciate. I wouldn't have bothered doing the rest of the work otherwise. But it was good to see, but of course you didn't really catch his face that well. There was the light behind him, it wasn't a clear shot, so that's why it didn't really lock into my mind. But I should have looked further into that. I will do better next time. So it was him that finds out, and I am glad that we actually get to find that little backstory of how she came across. Now, okay. That scene does a couple of things. One, really reveals Jeremiah to be a racist bastard. He is. You could say he's prejudiced, but no, he's racist because he's the whole brown people thing. No, screw that guy. This is what we've been waiting for this whole time. This is sort of an expectation of how his character was playing out. Certainly the way that he reacted with Luciana. But we didn't see that with Maddie and the rest of the group because they're all like super white. She's like white and blonde and all of that. So it was good to kind of get that honest reveal of his character. But he didn't do anything to her. He didn't help her. And certainly afterwards when she almost dies, I would carry a grudge. I understand that. But it wasn't the same kind of thing that I was expecting. He didn't actually, really assault her or do anything or push her off. He gave her some water. He did give her some advice. Find shade, travel at night, use the stars, which she promptly ignored and and just went off wandering in the daytime. Again, I can't blame her. She's in the middle of the desert. Where else is she going to go? But it was good to get that kind of backstory and her forgiveness of her dad and that sort of strange, ghostly advice bit. It was like Obi-Wan in Empire Strikes Back, giving advice as a Force ghost to her. But that does give her, again, nice backstory, obviously. Walker's caring for her. They are short on water, but she gets a full bath. That is saying something right there. Which explains her whole loyalty to Walker and why she made the choices that she did. Willingness to certainly attack the ranch, but not really willing to kill, which was at least a good kind of call back towards her caring for the Clarks and the connection she had with that is, look, she did admit, they took me in, they cared for me, I didn't want to be a killer. But this is war and things generally don't go that cleanly. Nick doing some own personal progress going on throughout these episodes. seeing him cut his hair, that was a new look for Nick. He's kind of going a little gung-ho in these couple of episodes. Understandable. I mean, I think the honest statement that he says to Troy when he says, look, I got Travis killed, my mom has to carry that weight now, and now Alicia is gone. He is seeing, he is feeling the guilt of his actions, and he is now stepping forward to try and learn the rest of these skills. He started learning shooting from Jeremiah, so now he's jumping with Troy and joining the militia to learn the rest of these weapon skills. It also gives him a chance to keep an eye on Troy. I love the dig also there that he gives to him as, gotta be prepared, those people that killed the Trembles. Gotta watch out for that. Nice dig on Nick's part. But you can see that's sort of his evolution at this point in the episode, is he's trying to step forward and trying, in some ways, to be that real adult. Learn the skills, put himself into danger. Total willingness to do that. I think it's quite appropriate. His line, I am a survivor of suicide proof. There we go, that was the actual line. I thought that was perfectly telling of Nick, because in some ways he is putting himself constantly in that position. Also hard to kill with the anthrax. I was really worried about Nick. I gotta say, I was really worried about him once he started doubling over. How long was this gonna be? But he recovered really fast. What was it, a day? I tried to track out how this episode went. It was like, they did negotiations, and then that night they went and they got Alicia, and then the next day Jake took the water back, and he got scalped there, and then I think it was just later that afternoon they dropped off Ophelia, and then that night she poisoned everybody, and then Nick was sick, and then it just seemed, I didn't know if another day had passed or it was just that afternoon when he recovered, because then he was suddenly healthy enough to go digging underneath his cabin. Really? You just were dying of anthrax and now you have the energy? It's the little things like that that annoyed me in these couple of episodes. And no one, because really, he shouldn't have been recovering that fast. They really needed to drag these things out. When the people had their feet injuries, they were walking real quick. He just had anthrax and now he's digging in his hole. So those things I found stupid and annoying, and I wish they had avoided them. And unfortunately, the person who got the most of that was Maddie. Okay, so Maddie's ending arc was beautiful. From the moment when she dragged Ophelia in to Walker and did the whole explanation of, look, I don't care about you, I don't care about the Ottos, I don't care about your feud, I don't care about any of you, I just care about my family. I am willing to die right here, and if we're gonna go, I'm gonna take you with me, but this is the move we're gonna, it was beautiful. That was Maddie. That was the strong, kick-ass character that really has been established kind of since the beginning. The problem with that scene is everything that led up to it. In the previous episode, in the Unveiling, she was like some reactionary, emotional beast creature that we have never seen before. She is always calm, cool, collected. She's always telling. She is always smart at looking at situations. For the most part. Everybody makes mistakes, but we're going to say for the most part. But her complete overreaction of Alicia being gone and flipping out. Yes, I understand her protecting the family, but her choices directly put Alicia in danger. It was a huge risk to try and go out there and to try and save her, assuming Alicia wasn't getting caught in a crossfire. Certainly not going to do it quietly and without loss of life, which is, of course, exactly what ended up happening. Perfectly shown up by that moment where Alicia is telling Troy as she's being rescued, look, don't kill that guy and I'm telling you this because I know that you wouldn't think for a moment to slice his neck. And the moment the guy turns and runs, Troy tackles him and slices his neck. Like a minute afterwards. Then we have more shooting, and then there's violence, and now you've got the whole tribe. So there was almost no way that was going to go off smoothly without really sparking the rest of the war and putting Alicia specifically in huge danger. The scene did not make any sense. It was too emotional for what we've been seeing with Maddie. Now, the payoff, of course, to all that craziness is it does lead her to that one very strong scene, which then follows up to her big personal reveal, and that leads directly into that last scene with Jeremiah, Otto, and the whole end of the conflict. So we could trace the arc of why that is, but it's like they wanted to get to that point, and they were rushing so much to get to that point, they didn't mind stumbling and pushing and doing all this crazy stuff. Now, they could have carried that off if Travis was still here, because they could have Travis having the more emotional response, being overprotective of what happened to Chris, not letting Alicia go like that and lose another person, another member of his family. And that's the cost that you have when you keep killing all of these characters around. Sure, with Walking Dead, there's always deaths. But you have to really measure that out. The reason you have a large cast is so that you can have all of these motions and impetuses and choices spread out logically amongst a cast and characters that would act that way. Because we have lost Chris and we have lost Travis, and of course Strand and Daniel are down in Mexico, and Ophelia is now with the tribe people. Sure, we've introduced kind of crazy Troy and more stable Jake and a couple characters. But because it's kind of focused main storytelling between, Maddie, Alicia, and Nick, there isn't a whole lot. You have to have all those characters now display all of those crazy realm of emotions. And it makes for illogical movement. And I think that was one thing that really got me kind of frustrated. There was a lot of that peppered throughout, especially the unveiling. And it was like the unveiling was the crazy setup so we could get to the payoffs in Children of Wrath there, which were some great payoffs. But like I said, that stuff really annoys me. So, of course, what is Maddie's big, deep, dark secret? Well, it got to deal with her alcoholic father. Alcoholic father, councilman, pillar of the community, knows how to certainly stay in office. Oh, in the South, man, they don't have a problem stuffing a few ballot boxes or getting rid of a few, if you know what I mean. Stereotypically South. I'm not really throwing judgment out here. But this also pillar of the community, big drinker, little violent reactions, family has to suffer from that. Little girl Maddie sees mom getting beaten, paying the price over and over again, and sooner or later someone's going to snap. And this certainly is Maddie snapping with her daddy's gun right into her daddy while he was sleeping passed out. So that is, that is going to affect someone. That is a good, strong, dark secret that certainly feeds into the way that people react. Of course, the music thing is that I believe her husband was also a drinker, which is to show in a way how sometimes in trying to escape these things, we run back into them over and over again. And then, of course, having a son that is an addict, there's all sorts of things that sort of lay in and on that. But it was I think it was a good, beautiful moment, great reactions from all of the kids into why that she did that. And it was, and that's where I'm saying this was really smart writing, because this led perfectly into the scene with Jeremiah immediately afterwards. She's basically telling the story of, to save my mom, to save my family, I had to kill the old drunk. Now excuse me while I go kill another old drunk. Or get him to shoot himself, as it were. Which is pretty much where everything was feeling that scene to go. I thought that was handled nicely. I love Jeremiah's laughing at her like, what are you going to do? And the minute that Nick shows up, you knew exactly what was going to happen. He wasn't going to let his mom carry that weight anymore. He was going to step up and do it, and certainly do it for the man that he found out wasn't really the man that he was hoping to be. Jake did try to warn him. But Jeremiah's little reveal to Nick there in that scene, that was kind of beautiful. That was kind of a perfect Nick scene there too, of the sort of arrogance and looking down, the sort of judgment, but from an honest position. He was believing all of Jeremiah's stories and his belief in the way that he made himself look, and then when you see the deep, dark underbelly there, not quite as pretty. And Nick, he is always willing to call people out on their shit. Oh, and of course, I don't want to end things without talking about Strand, at least for a moment. Just a couple of brief little scenes with him, really kind of him wrapping up and moving forward. I thought that it was cute and appropriate that he ran back into the Abigail. Got to sort of taste his whole life there. And again, it's just wrapping things up. It was perfect that, of course, he's there enjoying champagne and got his coat on and being all strandy. And in that moment has just a beautiful conversation with the cosmonaut. I love that scene. I love their back and forth, their kind of enjoyment of phrases and knowledge and education. And just, in that moment, we do learn, of course, that it's not just North America. It is the whole world has gone dark. So everybody's foobarred. At least we get to share. But that great last little moment when the world is not dead until you are. Do not rush to meet your death. Enjoy your life now. Live your life. And that's really the moment for Strand, why he burns the Abigail and moves on. Nobody else is going to have that. He is letting go of his old life. He is preparing. He is gearing himself up and moving in towards the future. All right, this has already gone on too long. So a couple of small points here. One, nobody has security. Nobody at the ranch has security, and nobody at the Black Hat has security. How many times were people going back and forth and stealing stuff and making deliveries and doing it? It was like, we never saw this place before, and they must have done like 5 trips throughout these episodes. Just sneaking into camp, taking Alicia. Let's sneak back into camp and take the trailer. That was crazy. And of course, I have complained about the ranch security. The line that they said when they were wondering where Jake was went, well, he must have snuck out. And they went, well, security didn't see him? I literally laughed out loud while I was watching that. We did have that one scene where finally the guard was up and it was like, well, they've got walkie-talkies too. Wow, the ranch is suddenly stocked with stuff because we've never seen this before. So anyway, I just had to laugh. One other thing that annoyed me, look, if you are going to infect the enemy with a disease, which was beautiful that it turns many of them into walkers and then you get the whole walker bomb fiasco going on. That was beautiful. And then I was just waiting for Walker to attack. And he didn't. Even like the next day, it's like people are wounded, people are sick, it's all chaotic. That is when you attack. That's when you poison people and do all of that. And none of it. Anyway, they were supposed to be a couple of days, and these 2 episodes seemed to go like a week. So this was the eternal, like, I'm going to give you 2 days, and then I'm going to give you 2 more days, and then maybe another day after that. It was just, that kind of dragged unnecessarily. So we are now on our mid-season break. We will return September 10th. Will be the mid-season premiere of Fear the Walking Dead. So got a few weeks until that happens. In the meantime, of course, next week, Game of Thrones Season 7 premieres. So excited about that. It's going to be awesome. We got some extended episodes throughout the season. Little shorter season, but a few of those episodes are going to be a little bit longer. So we've got a lot of stuff to cover. You will not want to miss that. So that's what's coming up here. But right now, please let me know if you did enjoy this review. You go ahead and hit that like button. You can also throw your thoughts, ideas, comments. How do you think this episode went? And where do you think things are going forward? Down in the section below. We'll keep this conversation going. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Darren Jakes. But with all these things coming up, you don't want to miss them. And you won't if you're a subscriber. Quick and easy to do that. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right here. And I'll throw up our latest review actually for Preacher right there. You can check that out. So, that's it. I'm D and I'm out of here. I will catch you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.